And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Welcome into RBLR Sports, covering all things about our wonderful Tampa Bay sports teams. My name is Yurika, and this week we will be talking about the Bucs defeating the New York Giants on Monday Night Football, as well as their clash this week against division rivals, the New Orleans Saints. And we'll also talk about the Rays beginning their offseason, trying to get back on track to the World Series. And joining me for this escapade this week is Musaab. Musaab, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, Yurika.
Yes,
it has been a interesting week, whether it be in the sports world or in just the normal world, with our elections still not technically being final.
Right.
And this week was unfortunately just a week for one of our Tampa Bay teams who were playing, and it was a pretty darn close game. I don't think any Buccaneer fans were expecting that, but it's okay. And I know you have a lot to share about it as well.
Yeah.
So we can just get started right now. And just, with the game itself, I just, for anyone who missed out on it, I kind of just want to just give you at least a one sentence gist.
Yeah.
Which was, it wasn't pretty, but the Tampa Bay Bucs, we finished our first half of the 2020 regular season with our third straight victory, beating the New York Giants in a really close game on Monday night, 25-23. All right, and we're gonna definitely dig a little deeper on that score first of all, because I know there was a controversial ending, as many analysts and many fans, whether it be Giants and Bucs fans, have to say about it. But just to kind of just get, kind of summarize some things for you, and just to talk a little bit about what I kind of noticed, was, first of all, it was a sluggish, kind of sluggish performance in the first half of the game. Bucs were behind, and it wasn't really looking too good at that time. However, second half, they really turned on their gears. Fourth quarter touchdown pass from Tom Brady and Mike Evans is actually what gave that Bucs the lead for good. Though it wasn't without some, drama in the final minutes for those who watched it. A late scoring toss from Daniel Jones to Golden Tate in the final moments gave the Giants a chance to force overtime. However, a failed 2-point conversion gave the Bucs the win. And then in regards to Tom Brady, Brady did another solid job. 28 out of 40 passes for 279 yards. And a pair of touchdowns. Well, the defense of Tampa Bay, we got some key interceptions in the second half from Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy Bunting. So those are just some things I kind of wanted to first highlight at first. But I do want to say, as I mentioned before, Tampa Bay was sluggish on both sides of the ball. We were trailing the Giants 14-16 heading into the locker room, but fortunately, we bounced back with a much better showing in the second half.
Yeah.
We got a perfect night from our kicker, Ryan Suckup, who made all his 4 field goals in a game decided just by 2 points. All right. Mike Evans led the Bucs with 55 yards on 5 receptions. Gronkowski again. I think he's really kind of got that groove in now. He's caught his touchdown pass from Brady for the 3rd week in a row. And Jason Pierre-Paul, strong performance against his former team, tallying 7 tackles and 2 tackles and 2 tackles for a loss and a sack. So just from those kind of things, I really don't have much to say about the first half. It was our first half wasn't our true first half. And I wouldn't even say the Giants had anything special in the first half. I think the first half was just not really expected. Just a slow start. But however, with this victory, our Bucs are now 6-2 on the season, keeping them in first place right now in the NFC South. before a wonderful, what's the right word? Wonderful and intense showdown tomorrow on this Sunday, Sunday night with our 5-2 New Orleans Saints. So we're in for a treat. I think this game is basically you ever seen Karate Kid, Eureka?
Yeah, I did see.
Are
you talking the original with the in the 80s or the remake
original,
with Jaden Smith?
or with the one with with Jaden Smith.
Yeah.
Basically what I'm saying is when the new kid or Jaden Smith or in the old one, I think the kid name was Daniel.
Yep.
He first pulls up to the city, doesn't really know how to fight, gets his butt whooped. And then finally he gets a trainer. So the way I'm seeing this right now, here the way I'm I want everyone to picture this in their head is, I guess I wouldn't really put Tom as the main character, because Tom Brady is not someone like Jaden Smith where he's kind of inexperienced. I would maybe say maybe just for this case, I would maybe just give an example of Gronkowski.
Okay.
All right, maybe Gronkowski or Ronald Jones or even Antoine Winfield. Last year, or the game against the Saints, our game one game was not us. I wouldn't say we got our butt whooped, but we just made a lot of penalties. We screwed up a lot, and then that's where kind of that Mr. Miyagi or Jackie Chan comes in, aka Bruce Arians, and he said, "Hey, y'all did bad out there, but I'm gonna put you under my wing. I'm gonna be your sensei." And next time we fight him, you remember like in the original one, the Cobra Kai, that's like the last fight.
Yeah.
So this is basically it. This is the way I'm looking at it right now. We're going against Sean Payton, Mr. Cobra Kai, and whoever the main kid was there, who was their main kid at the karate club.
Yeah.
AKA Drew Brees. So that's the way I'm seeing it. I'm looking for some revenge. And second of all, this is not just, any battle. This is Tom Brady and Drew Brees, the two guys who have been just going back at it their whole career. A lot of, they both have been, both have held a bunch of records. So, it's, and and now we're also adding Michael Thomas into this equation.
Yep.
And also Antonio Brown. So it's interesting, and I do have a lot more to say about that. But
yeah.
I do want to talk about two. Yeah, I would say two more things. First was the game. The game it came to a really close ending. I still remember where I was just sitting with my buddy, and I was like, "Oh man, we cannot mess this up. We can't mess this up because we messed this game up last year." So after an impressive touchdown from Daniel Jones to Golden Tate, the Giants attempted to tie the game in the final seconds with a 2-point conversion. Bucs rookie safety Antoine Winfield Jr. He had some other plans though. He kind of flew across to break up a pass intended for running back Dion Lewis. Then we saw a penalty flag was thrown, and I'm thinking, oh my God, did we just kind of mess this up? Assumedly it was for the pass interference on Winfield, but it was picked up after a long discussion by the officiating crew, and Tampa Bay recovered it. The call kind of got reversed. Tampa Bay recovered the onside kick, kind of to seal that close game victory. But what I want to know is if you saw it. Did you see? You saw that ending with Winfield and Dion Lewis, and what exactly are your thoughts about the pass interference call? And then obviously, I was watching that. I was just watching some Sports Center and some other stuff on on ESPN, and a lot of them I can specifically say. One of them I know for sure said, no, that is definitely a pass interference. And then the other person, in the show was saying it wasn't. So it just makes me think, it's like, all right, well, who's right, but then also it was just such a hard angle to see that.
Yeah, talking about the 2-point conversion at the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I, I in the moment, um, they motion out the running back, right, and then Jones is throwing the wheel or the little route. Now, the defender is playing the man, and when you're on the goal line, you're really just you're looking at your man, you're watching his eyes to see, his eyes get big. That's when you kind of you put your arms up and you put your hands up to deflect a ball that may be coming, right? That's what when you're defensive back, it's like that's one of the things they teach you is like you might not always be able to be looking over your shoulder or always looking at like where Daniel Jones is throwing the ball. A lot of times you have to use the mannerisms of the receiver to kind of infer whether or not the ball's coming to him. All right. I don't think this was pass interference because Winfield is trying to make up some ground because he's obviously in man coverage and he's covering the running back coming out of the backfield, and he was kind of out of position. So especially once they're snapping the ball, and you got to think too, Daniel Jones is a running threat. So you're on one hand, when you're that safety, you're thinking, okay, I gotta watch this guy. It's probably going to be a run play, even though they're in shotgun formation with 3 wide. You're looking at this guy. You're on the other side of the field. He motions out, and as soon as you figure out within half a millisecond from the ball being snapped, okay, this is a pass play, that he's got to make up all that ground to get over there. Now, he makes up a lot of ground immediately, and the running back is kind of in position to catch the ball because the ball's now out, and Jones is thinking he's got an open receiver. But Winfield doesn't like tackle him or make a play to kind of disrupt him physically. It's the fact that Jones kind of underthrows the ball, and so the receiver now stops to catch the ball. Now, if Winfield kind of slows down as well, and so I think if he was going full speed and just barrels him over and tackles him, and they both go rolling, I think you not only get the PI flag, but there's really no discussion about it because at that point, intention or whatever, it's just that's one of those plays where, as a defender, you can't just run over the receiver, especially if you're not looking at the ball. But the fact that he kind of slows down and he's got both of his hands in the air, he wasn't trying to sneakily, like act like he didn't do anything. It's the fact that Daniel Jones underthrew the ball. That's why I think the refs were able to say this isn't pass interference. And if anything, his hand was really close to hitting the ball. If not, he might have even tapped it with his arm, I think, on the replay. So at that point, once the ball gets tipped, contact is allowable. And in real time, it's hard to decipher that. But when you go back over it and you start looking at the slow motion replays, it's kind of like there's not enough evidence here to say that Winfield was trying to cheat or trying to do a malicious play or whatever. It's just one of those bang bang plays that happened. Now, if Daniel Jones makes that throw, if Daniel Jones is able to hit that out route and kind of lead the receiver instead of underthrowing him, I think that would not only have given the receiver a better chance to catch the ball, but it would have had a little bit more credibility to the pass interference intention or the fact that they caught him out of position, right? I mean, they did. They caught Winfield out of position for about a second, and that little window could have been taken advantage of, but Daniel Jones underthrew the ball. And I mean, really, that's what happened. And you know what? The Bucs are going to have a play in the future, I'm sure, that'll be just as controversial, I guess. And we might not come out on the end of it, but this night on Monday Night Football, the football gods pretty much put that in our hands. So
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. I definitely agree with you on your point. I was. I mean, I watched it. Maybe I saw like the replay twice that night, just because I got a buddy who's a Giants fan. And he just kept on, running his mouth. So I had
Jesus.
to prove to
Oh
him. I
man.
said, no, it's not. Well, if we're looking really, really close, you could be right. But what I'm looking at is Daniel Jones he took too long.
Yeah.
He took an extra maybe 2 seconds. And second of all, being an NFL quarterback, you got to be throwing bullets when it comes to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
His was it kind of had that little arch. And second of all, when I'm looking at it, I see Dion Lewis kind of turning his body a little bit, so it's kind of like it was a little behind him. The
Yeah.
placement, as you said, the placement of the ball was not where it was anticipated. Um, I think when I look at these kind of red zone first and goal kind of passes, usually the receiver or running back, they're kind of catching the ball a little more on the outside. Like if I'm running to the left, it's gonna come towards my left my left hand.
Yeah.
But if I'm running a little more right, it's gonna come on the outer right. But this one's coming in. This one is, if Daniel Jones is throwing it to me, and if I'm Dion Lewis and I'm standing here, I want to catch it more to my left side, but Daniel Jones, he's throwing it more in my kind of right rib area.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's kind of where that Winfield kind of ran into him and ran into the ball. So that's kind of what really made it messy. But I mean that's the way I see it. Um, I
Now,
guess maybe just because it was such a close game, people are really kind of on their seats about it,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why they really really care. It's one thing if it was like 35-23, but um, yeah, it was a little scary, but I think the call was I think it was fine, but it's it's just some pass interference calls are gonna always be controversial. This is not the only one. I've
Yeah.
this is going to continue to happen. I guarantee there's going to be at least three to four more pass interference calls that were called incorrectly. But that's life. Life
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
life's not fair. Things happen, but thank you, Antoine Winfield, and thank
Right.
you, football gods,
Right. Now,
for the
so
win.
the thing though is that, um, well, one, it's New York, so all the things that come with the New York market and the national media and all the things that a New York team is going to kind of engender. But um, like you said, this game was so close, and I mean, obviously, we didn't see it that way. Like, I don't think either of us thought it was going to come down, especially not to a last drive touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So I do want to say that you got to give credit to the Giants, because I think that especially in the first half, they had a pretty unorthodox game plan, and it set the Bucs back a little bit, and once they were able to figure that out at halftime, actually towards the end of the first half, you started to see the Buccaneers, especially on offense, being able to kind of figure out, okay, this is what they're doing, this is our matchups, we can make this happen. But up until that point, Tom Brady had good protection, but he was overthrowing targets. And so if a few of those turn into catches instead of, fingertip misses or complete overthrows, then we're talking about the Bucs in a little different light. But the defense of the Giants, they had a game plan to stop the run. And the Bucs really just couldn't get the ground game going until the second half. And even then, Leonard Fournette was the only back that was getting kind of more than 4 yards a carry. So the Giants, they had a pretty solid effort in the first half to kind of control the game. But when the Bucs were finally able to get a good 2-minute drill before the end of the first half, I think that once they were able to do that, they went in the locker room, made a couple adjustments. Bruce Arians, our Mr. Miyagi here, is telling them, wax on, wax off, and let's go. But the Giants also were able to kind of use some of these unpredictable play calling and trick plays. Golden Tate throwing a lateral or getting a lateral and throwing a pass, and just a lot of screens and just weird stuff that they were trying to do to kind of confuse the obviously superior Buccaneers defense. Well, the second half they were able to kind of take care of a lot of that. They got rid of the trick plays. None of those were really successful in the second half. The Bucs offense obviously woke up, and Daniel Jones, all in all, was okay in the first half, and he was able to kind of find the open man when it counts. And the Bucs defense was getting good penetration all game, and New York was able to kind of either get a long play out of these unpredictable trick plays, or kind of a not quite a Hail Mary, but they're throwing it deep a lot, and a couple of them converted, and so a lot of those were good long third down conversions and things like that. But once there was a particular sequence, that I think really just it was the right after there was the second interception. The first interception was nice. Carlton Davis got it, and then immediately the Bucs had a long drive for a touchdown. So on that drive, you saw Brady to Gronk to get into field goal range, and then Brady to Evans to get into the red zone. Then Mickens got the PI flag, and then Brady was able to hit Gronkowski on that 3-yard touchdown. Then immediately after that, it was a 3-and-out. So you went from close game, Giants are in the lead, they're doing what they can, all the breaks are going their way, and then all of a sudden now there's been 2 interceptions, the Bucs are on fire, they're moving the ball with ease, and they were able to kind of just, at that point, it was only a matter of time until they were going to win. The one thing, though, I would say is that last drive for the Giants, the kind of bend but don't break defense didn't stop New York on that final drive. And that was the one thing where I was like, guys, you just got to put the hammer down. And I know Ndamukong Suh did get a sack to force a 3rd down and 16, but the defense also had 2 just surefire interceptions that if you catch one, it's game's over. We're running the ball. We're kneeling it. We're out of here. But they kind of played a soft zone. Daniel Jones was able to make the reads and convert a 3rd down and 16 and get it to Golden Tate for that touchdown with a few seconds left in the fourth. But I really hope that they weren't kind of letting off the gas in that last 2-minute drill, because they can't do that against the Saints. The Saints game is going to have to be 60 minutes of concentrated, full, all-in football. They can't come out stumbling out of the blocks like they did in this game, and they definitely can't let up off the gas if they have a small lead with a minute and 40 seconds to go, or a minute 30 seconds to go in the game, because it's not Daniel Jones next week. It is Drew Brees. He's a Hall of Famer. They have a few weapons coming back. But I don't know. How did you feel on that last drive defensively for the Bucs?
We definitely could have done a lot better with that. That touchdown pass from Jones to Golden Tate was, if I was their fan, I'd be saying that's impressive. But as a Bucs fan, I was rather very scary and not what I was expecting. It's just after watching the Bucs so far this season, you know what we are good at and what we are not. And after seeing some of our good games, it just obviously it's a little I wouldn't say disturbing, but a little discomforting when you see, our secondaries or sometimes our defense, we're kind of just screwing up on a small play that maybe leads to a big play, on the next drive, or maybe like a penalty here or there. Those become costly. So I was just throughout the whole game I was out a little bit for the first half, but I was watching a little bit of it and keeping up with the highlights and making sure I'm checking like the live feed. And obviously even at that time it was really disappointing. I was kind of a little in a panic mode because I was thinking, yikes,
Well, what's your buddy like? Sitting next to you.
Oh, he wasn't actually next to me. He came for the second half. Yeah,
All right.
I was out for a bit with family, but for the second half, yeah, he came over. He came over to my cousins, and we watched the game, and we didn't kind of really like kind of jaw at each other. Just because his defense was obviously, hey, my Giants lose, it's like whoop-de-doo, we're playing the Bucs, y'all got Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Godwin, Fournette. So, but just the fact that how close it was, he was like, man, we win, I'm gonna be, talking crap about, this for the next week, man. Then that controversial, penalty happened with Winfield and, Lewis. Friend wasn't too happy. He's like, oh man, it's just refs love, in his New York accent, he's like, oh, refs love Tom Brady.
Well, there's a lot of Boston and New York hatred.
They give a lot. Oh, they give everything to Tom.
Well, that is one of I know you and I are both big basketball guys too, and it's like when you get a LeBron James or one of these superstars, it's like you kind of earn.
You get what you want.
You get the call, man.
If it's a little iffy, if it has the ref thinking, then you'll probably get it. It's like it's like LeBron or Tom Brady running to first or like second base. And the umpire's like, oh, I think that's an out, but then LeBron or Tom Brady's like, oh no, I'm pretty sure, buddy. Like I've been in the league for this many years. I know what an out is, and that was not an out. And then they're like, you know what? That's fine.
well, I don't really know if there's a big lesson to be learned from this game, other than what I said earlier, which is like. In games where they come out and they are just full tilt from the beginning, they blow teams out. Win, especially these teams where it's kind of an overwhelming, we should absolutely win. Well, they already lost one of those games to the Bears by 1 point, and they were only 2 points technically better than the Giants all told, even though through stretches of the game it was obvious that the Bucs are better. I think that's the big lesson that we're coming out of this, is that if it isn't 60 minutes of really good football, you're going to open yourself to one or two plays that if they go the right way, the other team is now dancing. But with all that said, we're gonna ask the question after the break here is, can the Bucs paint the fence with their amazing defense, or will Drew Brees be able to sweep the leg? We'll talk about Saints versus Bucs after the break. Welcome back into RBLR Sports. Musaab, I know that the Saints are on a 4-game win streak, and the Buccaneers are on their own 3-game win streak. The last time these two teams met, it was week 1, and the Saints were able to pull out a 34-23 victory. This time, though, our Buccaneers are 4.5-point favorites. So I got to ask you, what is different, and what should we be looking for with this tilt with the New Orleans Saints?
just after struggling to find their footing early in the season, specifically that Saints game, I think the Buccaneers have hit their stride. We got Brady leading an offense that is firing on all cylinders and a defense that ranks among the best in the NFL. In Tampa's, last 6 games, Tom Brady has completed 158 out of 237 passes. He's got 17 touchdowns and just 1 interception. Um, so, like their division rivals, the Saints have also kind of found their groove after a 1-2 start. They won 4 straight. They got, all the wins coming by 6 points or less, so very close. 2 of them actually being overtime victories over the Chargers and the Bears. So, I also want to start with, after beating the Giants on Monday Night Football in a close game, both the Saints and, Tampa Bay, they're coming off of 2 really interesting weeks. But the cool part I do want to say is this game, the vibes are just intense. One reason is, first of all, we got the Saints who beat the Bucs. In the past, they've been able to do that. This year, obviously, people were really pumped to see Brady, Gronk, Evans, Godwin, et cetera, et cetera. Kind of link up all together and go against Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and to see how that battle was gonna go. First week, the battle wasn't the best. It was, it wasn't looking good for us. We definitely, I would say we gave away about 16 to 17 points. But we only lost by 11, so that game should have been ours. But it's okay. It was game 1, no preseason, new quarterback, new kind of system, so it's all good. But adding on to that, the Bucs will be making their first appearance on Sunday Night Football in 4 seasons, giving the team a chance to prove that they are one of the best teams in the league before a national audience. Okay, for all my football fans, even if you're not a Buck or a Saints fan, you're gonna be watching. You're gonna be probably having that TV on Sunday Night Football. Probably even if you have someone on your fantasy team or not, it's just if you're for a football fan, you always try to watch Sunday Night Football, because usually those games are, they got some importance, whether they be 2 good teams, 2 okay teams, a division battle, or an old time rivalry. So something's gonna be happening. But that being said, I just want to start out with to answer your question, Eureka, is how are things going to be different? Things are going to be different because it's simple to me. The way I see it is that the team chemistry for the Buccaneers is way, way different than it was in game 1. I think, first of all, Tom Brady's already been in his groove. It's evident that Gronkowski's now in his groove. Our defense has been in their groove. Maybe a little shabby in game 1, but we're on fire now with our defense. If it really comes down to it again, I trust our kicker. Amazing performance last week. So I think we're locked and loaded. As I mentioned before, this is kind of like that little Karate Kid, movie. Daniel, the main character, gets his butt whooped or doesn't know how to fight, aka the Buccaneers. They don't really know how to, kind of use their weapons. But this is where Mr. Miyagi, aka Bruce Arians, steps up. He teaches, his student on how to win. He said, "Hey, you lost your first fight with the Saints, or Cobra Kai, or whatever karate club he was going against. But this is it now. This is obviously, I know it's not the Super Bowl, but our first accomplishment this season is gonna be from this game, which is, obviously, both teams can lose future games, but I think the records for the Saints and the Bucs are going to be very similar after this game, whether the Bucs or Saints win. But it is important that we do win this game, because it's going to give us that NFC South Division title. which would be really awesome because, first of all, we're going to take that away from the Saints, who've been, in charge of that for the last few years. And second of all, it's going to be a really good battle because now we got Breeze, who's been on fire, Michael Thomas coming back. We got Antonio Brown now, who's with the Buccaneers, and we got our GOAT quarterback, Tom Brady. So three things. I got some predictions, and I got some three things I definitely want to say. Three things to maybe be aware of / watch is can Tampa Bay protect the ball? That's my first question, and my first statement is, will they protect the ball? I think they will. I think they will protect the ball, but turnovers made the difference in the first meeting with New Orleans in the season opener. Tom Brady threw 2 interceptions. Marcus Williams picked off the first one to set up the Saints offense for a 35-yard drive, and then Janoris Jenkins returned the second one, 36 yards just for a touchdown. And then Mike Edwards kind of, got muffed on a kickoff. So it was kind of a little rough. And then winning the turnover margin has been crucial for Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers have turned over the ball less than their opponents in 6 out of the 7 games since the loss in New Orleans. The lone exception occurred in the Bucs' only other defeat against the Bears when both teams gave away the ball the once. So I would just say after the trio of giveaways at New Orleans, I think the Bucs, they've only turned over the ball like 5 times. Which is not bad at all. It's not perfect, but it's not bad at all. We're a new team. We're built stronger now more than ever, and I think the pieces are just coming together. I also just think that this game, I'm forgetting from the top of my head, the rest of the Bucs schedule, but this game, it just really means a lot. I think for the Bucs. Yeah, we play the Rams, the Chiefs, and, we'll play, maybe another contender, the Vikings. But this game just really means a lot. And, we've had 3 kind of, or even 4. I would say 4. We've had 4 games that have just been really just iffy. The Saints-Buccaneers game 1. Okay, and then game 4, Bucs Chargers. I mean, we were not performing hot in the first half, but second half we just turned on those gears and we just took off. Third game after that, the game after that, the Bears Buccaneers was, the biggest lesson to be learned. I'm surprised they let the Giants kind of have such a close game with them after a Bears loss, but. The way I see it is both teams are fighting for something. I can't speak too much about what the Saints are fighting for, but obviously they want that NFC division title. They obviously also kind of want to make a statement that, hey, sure, the Bucs are good, but hey, we are still the division leader, and we're gonna be attempting to defeat them again. But Buccaneers, this is, I don't think anyone wants a loss, but we got a schedule that's looking pretty good for us. But that Chiefs game is going to be really, really tough, I think. So it's kind of like, the way I'm thinking about it realistically is that I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs win that game. Will I be mad at the Bucs? Depends on how we perform. If it's a high scoring, kind of battle between, Mahomes and Brady, I will not be mad. But I can put a loss there, which is just basically what I'm trying to say is I don't want any more losses. The Saints game, we shouldn't lose. I don't have us losing. So for that reason, this game means everything. And I think our defense is really, really going to make that difference, in my opinion. I think our offense, we have our good times, bad times, good drives, bad drives, good days, bad days. But our defense is what's going to save us. I will say that right now. We can score a lot, but I think the Saints will be right behind us. But to seal that game, I think it's going to be the defense. My next kind of thing to look out for is um, I'm wondering is if New Orleans, talking about our defenses, will New Orleans be able to run the ball sufficiently? Um, you know, we've I think what I've seen, with Michael Thomas and other receivers is, sometimes Sean Payton he kind of has a tendency to abandon the rushing attack game. Um, but the way things are right now, and then the fact that they have Alvin Kamara, who's been a beast, um, they're gonna come charging. But I just don't know. I don't know how good I don't know how good they're gonna be. Whether it be Kamara or Murray or even Taysom Hill, because the Buccaneers have they limited the Saints to 82 yards in their previous meeting. That is the Saints' lowest game so far in 2020. Um, and overall, the Bucs we have suppressed our opponent's running attack. We have allowed the fewest yards per game, 70.4 to be exact, in the NFL. We've held three opponents to fewer than 50 rushing yards. Um, and the scariest part is the first opponent to surpass our 100-yard mark this season, to get 100 or more yards this season in the rushing game is Mr. Daniel Jones and his New York Giants, which is really, really scary. Um, but I don't think they're gonna let that happen again. No way. I am sure. It's funny. I'm sure. I promise you, Arians or Brady, they had a nice long talk. Probably, I would say more Arians, just about how we really gotta, we gotta stop screwing up, and we really gotta just keep it full throttle. The way I'm looking at it, I think Arians is probably telling them, hey, you guys, we survived that game. I was expecting better, but it is what it is. We still got the W. That's all that matters now. But this game, gentlemen, y'all gotta just be playing your hearts out. This has got to be like, as you were talking about it before, Eureka. This has to be 60 minutes of just pure blood, sweat, and tears on that field. So, and then my third point I just wanted to also make was, will Tom Brady be able to kind of attack that vulnerable Saints secondary? Um, he was the Saints defensive backs have given up big plays and scores this season so far. They've actually surrendered 237 yards, the 16th highest in the league, and they've allowed about 28 points per game on average, the 10th most in the NFL. Um, so my final analysis is this type of game is rightly belongs in the slot where it is right now scheduled, Sunday Night Football. Eureka, the importance of this game, or the importance of the outcome of this game cannot be underestimated. With the victory, the Bucs would remain in first place and ahead of the Saints. And if the Saints win, they would secure the tiebreaker for the divisional championship, should they finish with the same overall record as Tampa Bay. And I've said this before a lot. This matchup is going to be an entertaining battle with two future Hall of Fame inductees, directing the offense. So, I kind of give you my little things to watch out for. Just some quick hot takes, some bold predictions I want to talk about. My first bold prediction is going to be I think Tom Brady's going to outduel Drew Brees, and he's going to have at least 3 touchdowns. The first game, between them two, the two quarterbacks were far from their usual selves. But aside from another meeting between the two greatest quarterbacks, this game also gives Brady and Brees a chance to rewrite the record books. I think maybe New Orleans may have had a longer winning streak heading into this game, but Tampa Bay has been playing better as of late. Brady is, I think he's going to remain red hot. With the defense that's allowed 237 yards, and our offensive line has been giving great protection. I know they don't get much recognition, and I just give them a shout out, whenever I see it. But what a change 1 year can make for someone like Mr. Alex Kappa. Just, he's been doing in my opinion, absolutely amazing. He's been really protecting, our Tom Brady, and so is everyone else. And it's kind of just like, hey, I think mentally you're thinking also, hey, I'm not just protecting any quarterback, I'm protecting Tom Brady. Maybe that's what's the motivating factor. Now here's my second hot take, and I think this is going to be a hit or miss.
Okay, well,
And
that's
that
kind of
is-
the point. Yeah, that's
Yeah, but this is gonna go either really well in my opinion, or just this person's not even gonna do anything.
oh no. Okay, so what is it?
And his name is Mr. Antonio Brown.
Oh, A-B.
And my prediction is he's gonna have a solid performance. I'll define solid for you while I'm kind of talking about it right now, just so we're all on the same page.
Yeah,
But aside from the duel between Brady and Breeze, there's going to be a little duel between top receiver Michael Thomas, who's recovered from an injury, and Antonio Brown, who signed a couple weeks ago and hasn't played in the league since a 1-game stint with the New England Patriots last season, where he caught 4 passes for 56 yards. Adding a touchdown as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with Brown being out of action for more than a year, it's obviously unclear if the Bucs will actually get, some super talented receiver, that made the Pro Bowl like 7 times. But, with his former teammate, Brady having other options, I don't think Brown needs to be anything super specific right now. I think he's just going to have that, he's going to find his groove with the team. I hope some off the field issues do not continue.
Yeah.
Do not continue anymore.
That's the big question.
That is that's what I'm kind of worried about, because what I'm thinking is we got so many weapons. I just hope someone like Antonio Brown. I hope he doesn't kind of have that maybe superiority complex. Like, hey, I'm not just I'm not some guy like I'm not like Scotty Miller. Like, hey, I'm good and I'm young. I am Antonio Brown. I have a history of making great performances. So I'm not just some I'm some average Joe. So for that reason, I just hope that doesn't happen. But if I was him, I would probably say, hey, he just needs to behave, really. Whether he gets any playing time or none, he's on a winning team right now. I'll tell you that. So if I'm Antonio Brown, I'm gonna listen to Tom Brady, my leader. I'm gonna respect my coach. I'm gonna respect my teammates. If I see them doing better than I am, then that's fine. I'm gonna keep supporting them. I think Antonio Brown needs to realize that once he joins his team, he has to understand that there is no I in team. Okay, but just hoping for the best. And my last take is, I think I don't want to get super specific, but I think Alvin Kamara is gonna be contained to, I would say, less than 65 yards this upcoming game. Yeah. I think he's going to be down to 65 and under, and I think Murray might get some more chances if Alvin Kamara gets contained. But I don't think Murray's going to do anything special. So for that reason, those are kind of just like my big hot takes. I would probably say. I will also add this along with the AB Antonio Brown kind of hot take. I would really, really like to see Jaden Mickens score. That would be really nice. I don't know why, but I'm really becoming a fan of this guy. I know he's not some superstar yet, but I just really, I really want him to kind of be another weapon. Because it's just like, the way I see it right now, our offensive line is solid. they know exactly what they need to do, which is be aware of the defense and just keep on blocking. Our running backs have been doing a solid job, and it's nice that we have a few weapons. Tom Brady's been doing a great job. Our defense has been doing a great job. So what I'm thinking now is our tight end, slot receiver, wide receiver unit. I want a whole bunch of guys that can, kind of keep rotating back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So if Scotty Miller kind of lands on his foot a little, awkwardly, I want Mickens to be able to come in and be able to, if needed be, to be able to get that next, catch on that drive or something, because hey, he's that good enough to do that. He's not just filling in the role just because he's filling in the role as another weapon or a potential threat. So those are my kind of like hot takes. I will say I think Jada Mickens will score a TD, and I think that is about everything. But I can't finish off my hot takes and my analysis and predictions and preview without my score prediction.
Okay, here we go.
And here we go. All right, here's what I'm thinking. It's gonna be close, but I'm thinking 38-27.
38-27. All right.
I'm thinking it's gonna be 31-27 until the end of the third quarter. Till the end, it's gonna be 31-27 in the end of the third quarter, and then once the fourth quarter happens, I think we're going to get some nice drives, but I think the Saints D is also going to be battling with us, but I think we'll be able to squeeze in a touchdown. And that's really about it. But I will say this is kind of depending more on how I'm kind of banking on Evans to be performing really well. So if Evans isn't doing too hot, then I'm going to say we win 34-27, that being because we hit some field goals, but I mean most likely I'm feeling a 38-27. What about you?
I've got the game at 35-23, which is kind of funny because the last game was 34-23. I do believe that you've got. The Bucs have, I think, the advantage on offense. So, meaning that I think the Bucs, obviously, the Bucs offense is better than the New Orleans defense, and I think that the Bucs defense is equal to, if not, has an advantage being the home team, I guess. Even though there's not a 30,000 people in the stands, I think that being the road team, the defense is going to be has a little bit of an uptick in favor, and then just on talent alone, they're equal to. If I'm giving New Orleans a little credit, right? So obviously New Orleans, their strength is their offense. They have a high-powered offense that's scoring above average. However, their defense is not as good. They're kind of a below average defense. They have, let's be honest, they do have a okay front seven. I mean, I'm looking at, on the front seven, you've got Shai Tuttle and Marcus Davenport that I think are playmakers that they have high motors and they can get in there. But you did talk about the kind of questionable defensive backs. And so those are my questions is like, can Janoris Jenkins cover Mike Evans? Is Marshawn Lattimore, are they going to put him on Godwin? Are they going to put him on AB? So I do agree with, having a guy like Mickens. This is what Antonio Brown, I think, brings the most to the table, is that if Antonio Brown is good with the fact that Brady spreads the ball out, because you've got Gronk sitting over there too, right? And so between the tight ends and now three solid wide receivers, and the other guys that have been the guys like Mickens that have kind of stepped up, and Scotty Miller for God's sakes. So you've got all these weapons. No one can be afraid that they're not getting their piece of the pie because Brady distributes the ball. If you're open, you're going to get the ball. So now it just comes down to putting Brown on one side as an X receiver, putting Evans as a Y receiver, and having now you're able to say, do we have Gronk? Do we have Miller? Do we have Godwin? Do we have where do we want to put everyone else? The defensive backs that you kind of have to pick your poison, right? So I don't know the depth chart down to the 4th and 5th and 6th defensive backs for the New Orleans Saints, but it would seem to be evident that the talent level is going to be a lot less than the bottom of the barrel of the Buccaneers wide receiving core. So with that, how do they score 23 points, even against a really, really good defense that the Bucs have? Well, they're aggressive, right? No one's ever called Sean Payton or a conservative play caller. They utilize Alvin Kamara in many different situations, which means that sometimes the linebacking core is going to have to pick him up out of the backfield. Sometimes you're going to have to commit a defensive back to him as a slot receiver or wide receiver. Alvin Kamara is a powerful downhill runner, and he's I think the stat was he's been utilized he has the most yards from scrimmage in the NFL this year. So I'm sure fantasy football players are like, yeah, he gets receptions, he gets carries, he gets yards. He's always a primary target in the offense. And with Michael Thomas coming back and Emmanuel Sanders coming back, now you're trying to spread that defense thin, and Alvin Kamara is going to definitely be in the game. He's the game plan. I mean, he's kind of the offense for them. The Saints go for it on 4th down a lot. And last week they made one and they missed one against the Bears. But that unpredictability where is Alvin Kamara going to be? Is 3 downs, is a 3 and out enough? Or are they going to try to go for 4th and 4, 4th and long, or bring in a guy like Taysom Hill who can be their quarterback? He also lines up at wide. He caught a touchdown as a wide receiver last week. He's on the punt team as a fake. You always have all of these unpredictable elements, and that's one of the entertaining things about the Saints, and a frustrating thing if you're a defensive coordinator trying to game plan against it. So with all that, that's why I think they can score 23 or more points against our defense, which the Bucs have been giving up around 20 points a game, and I think that's about where they're going to be, give or take a field goal here. But I don't see the Saints being able to contain all of the weapons now that the Buccaneers have. And that's the difference this week, is that in the first game, Brady was there wasn't a preseason, right? So that was the preseason, was getting to know your receivers really well in a game, not practice. Like Allen Iverson, we're talking about the game, right? So can the Saints now go against a Tom Brady that knows all of his weapons, a Tom Brady that now has more weapons with Antonio Brown, who they do have, albeit a short history. They have a history back in New England that there won't be the moaning and the crying and the things about, why am I not getting the ball? Antonio Brown's here for a rehabilitation stint, for his image and for his career, but he knows that this is the best chance to win a ring, and that is the goal, that is the mindset, and that is why the Bucs have to have that 60-minute mentality against the Saints, because this is a game that they cannot and should not let slip through their fingers, because the Bucs and the Saints both have they have the same schedule pretty much for the rest of the year. They both have to play the Falcons twice, and this game here, like you said, Musaab, if the Saints are able to obtain the tiebreaker, that might very well be the deciding factor by the end of the year, because the Saints definitely can can make a lot of things happen the rest of their season. This, right now, in the middle of the season, is the closest thing to a playoff game that we're going to see in a very long time. So I've got 35-23. You've got 38-27. Is there, we've been wrong before. That's the nature of being analysis right here, is that we're wrong sometimes. So if the Buccaneers aren't able to protect the ball in a repeat of the first week, if they weren't able to stop the rushing game and Brady wasn't able to overpower the defensive backs, why do you think, if that's, those were your big things to questions to watch for here. If all of those things come true and Tampa's turning over the ball and they can't stop the rush and Brady isn't able to overpower the defense, what are the Saints doing? What big thing did the Saints do to make all of those things happen?
Just as you mentioned before, with Sean Payton having an aggressive, way of coaching and game planning and play calling, I think it's just going to be that when it comes to the running backs, they find the right holes, the right pockets. Mm-hmm. Maybe they play a whole completely kind of different style than they did, in Game 1 against the Bucs. But also I think Michael Thomas, if he's all 100% healthy and ready, I can really see him kind of doing some damage. Okay. I don't, I trust our secondaries, but if something were to go wrong, I understand why, because, it's Michael Thomas and now also Emmanuel Sanders. So it's not even like... And then also, what I really kind of, envy or despise of the Saints is Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
And it's because I don't even know exactly what his main position is.
Football player. Dude, he's a football player.
he's a football. I'll just leave it at that. So I just, when you brought him up, I was thinking. I said, I could really see this being a close game. Maybe the Saints get a nice drive, and then what I'm thinking is, even if the Bucs are up by 1, I'm thinking is, they have someone like Taysom Hill, who, if it's like 1 minute left in the game, it's 4th and 2, and they're at the 30-yard line or something like that, or maybe 50-yard line. I just feel like they can really they can get a first down conversion from being on 4th down instead of just kicking it or something. Yeah. I just think they kind of have that. They have that sneakiness or something, because I've seen Taysom Hill, and the fact that he can do a lot of things at once is a little scary, because it's just because when you think about that, then it's just all he needs is 2 yards. He gets 2 more yards, and then bam, the Saints get another four chances on the drive. And, being the Saints they are, it's pretty likely that they can, keep moving the ball forward. So what will go wrong is, I just think, to kind of, keep it short and sweet, is I just think the Saints will use their weapons that they have in the right manner, or in the manner that our Buccaneers defense is not expecting it. I don't expect much from the Saints Saints defense to stop us, as much as I expect the Buccaneers to mess up against the Saints offense.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
So it's gonna. I'll tell you this this game is gonna be really, really interesting. Yeah. And I think this game, if it does not start out well for the Bucs, but it does start out decent or well for the Saints, I think it's gonna be looking really bad. The Bucs have to start out strong. Yeah. Now, if they both start out kind of a little sluggish, that's okay. Then I stay hopeful, but this is not a game we can afford to kind of just fall back behind. This is this is not this. We're not playing the Chargers. This is not a young Chargers team with a rookie quarterback. This is the Saints with Alvin Kamara, who's been an offensive weapon. Michael Thomas, offensive weapon, and then future Hall of Famer Drew Brees, and I'll even throw Taysom Hill in that equation. Just a dude who has your back and who can play a few things at once.
Yeah, so this matchup between two 40-year-olds, check this stat out. Brady is leading in all-time passing touchdowns. He leads by 1 touchdown, 561, only to Drew Brees in second place with 560. That's ridiculous.
I think they're gonna be making some records in the record book.
Well, what I'm saying is they might actually have the stat on the screen at all times, because this is going to be, I think, a shootout, and I think that's not to downplay the Bucs defense. It's just this is Drew Brees. This offense of the Saints. This is Sean Payton.
Right.
They're going to find a hole, and it's a lot of it is the chess game between, okay, now we know what they're doing. How do we patch the hole? And Drew Brees finding a new hole, right? And finding those windows, and he can do it. And that's why this is going to be fun. I hope it's not. I hope I have the same amount of hair on my head that I have going into the game, coming out of it. But one last fun little question: is there any chance we see former Buccaneer Jameis Winston play in this game?
I hope not. But
I hope he does. I hope he does, because
I hope
that
you
means
know what
the Bucs are up
I
by
mean
100 points.
I just don't. I just don't want to see his face. That's the reason why.
No.
But if he does come in, I'll tell you this: if he does come in, and I just hope the defense takes care of him.
Yeah. Well, the Breeze has been limited in practice throughout the week. He's downplaying it, saying, "Look, dude, I'm 40 years old. Everything hurts all the time." So, which I'm sure is the truth, and I don't look forward to that. But to wrap that up, I think we both are calling for the Buccaneers to win a shootout, 38-27. I have it 35-23. Pretty similar, and that's kind of what we've been seeing around the league. So, in this matchup that has so much implication for the rest of the season, as we transition to talk about baseball here for the last segment of the show, we're going to take a look at what does the Rays offseason look like for to going into their next season here. So we're hoping for a Bucs victory, and we're hoping the Rays can retool for another playoff run. We'll get into what I think the Rays are going to do this offseason. All that and more after the break.
Welcome back to RBLR Sports with Musaab and Yurika. We have talked a lot about our Bucs, but now I'm gonna give it to you, Yurika, and let's talk Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I think the big question on everyone's mind is how different are the Rays going to look next season? And I mean, it's right around the corner. Spring training is they're kind of on schedule. In the middle of the COVID pandemic, as much as they shortened this season, it is full steam ahead in terms of spring training and playing the 2021 season. So the question is, how different are the Rays going to look next season? So I think the first thing is we do have Major League Baseball free agency and arbitration coming up. So right now we do know that Aaron Loop, who's a relief pitcher, and Oliver Drake, who wasn't on the playoff roster, those guys have been released. And the team did also decline the team options on catcher Mike Zunino and starting pitcher Charlie Morton. Now, Loop and Drake, I think, were just kind of like kind of middle to bottom of the roster guys anyway. That kind of happens. There's going to be some turnover. There's going to be probably at least 5 or 6 guys that they're going to bring in that are unknown or kind of not bottom of the barrel, but they're this kind of average workman type journeyman guys, right? That are going to replace Aaron Loop and things like that. the question is, okay, what are they going to do with Charlie Morton and Mike Zunino? So these guys they're players that the Rays like and want to bring back, but they decline the options for money moves. They do want to bring back Charlie Morton. If Charlie decides he doesn't want to retire, because that was the whole thing. He was actually retiring, and then the Rays brought him out of retire, or back from that brink to be here. He was going to make $15 million on that option, and so I think Charlie definitely will play another year. I don't think he's going to retire because the whole COVID experience where you don't have people in the stands, I don't think that's how he wants to go out, even though we went to the World Series. I think he wants to have one more full experience. Kind of like how kids like to go to the college to get college experience before they turn pro, right? Like we were talking about. But the Charlie Morton, though, I think he wants that major league experience of having people in the stands and doing that for at least one more year. But the Rays definitely want to bring him back for a lot less than $15 million. Same thing with Zunino, where he was slated to make about $5 million. But Zunino, I think, was going to get released no matter what. However, he did have a pretty strong postseason, so maybe the Rays bring him back. But for less than the $4.5 million that he was going to make this year. So that's with the Rays, right? The Rays are not the type of team that are going to break out the wallet. So we have to look at some of the players that are up for arbitration that might make more money. And each of these are questions about, are they going to keep them, or are they going to maybe try to release these guys, and not release them, but maybe trade them or offload some of this increased payroll. So first we look at looking to make more money in arbitration are outfielders Hunter Renfroe and Manuel Margot, who had Margot had a really good postseason. I think they're going to keep him. I don't think they're going to do anything. They'll pay him the money he's worth. Hunter Renfroe is a guy where they have some decisions to make in the outfield. You've got Kevin Kiermaier, who's making more money every year. He's a great defensive player, but the offense has been iffy. Hunter Renfroe had a decent postseason, but like most of the Rays, it was kind of an underwhelming offensive performance. So I think that the Hunter Renfroe's ability to be on the team is contingent upon them keeping Kevin Kiermaier or getting rid of one of the two players. So you will see Hunter Renfroe make a little bit more money in arbitration, but whether or not they're on the team kind of comes down to what pieces the Rays can get back on a trade. On the pitching side, Tyler Glasnow, Ryan Yarbrough, and Yanni Chirinos all are slated to make more money here in arbitration. And I think they do want to keep all three of these guys. Yarbrough, I think, is a piece that they can move in a trade, especially if they want to kind of bring in a bat. But on the pitching staff, I think they like what Glasnow has brought to the table. He was really good in Pittsburgh. He's been even better with the Rays, and he's part of that three-headed monster that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So, Morton probably coming back. Glasnow, definitely they're keeping him. They want to keep that bullpen going with Yarbrough and Chirinos. The one question, though, that I have is first baseman Ji-Man Choi is slated to make a little bit more money in arbitration. He's a guy that was pretty much plucked out of obscurity. It's one of these things the Rays can do where they find a guy and he can make them proud that they were able to pull him out of one of the foreign leagues, and then he makes a pretty good name for himself, especially in the last couple postseasons. But the Rays always are looking for, can we turn this asset into something else, especially before they're slated to make a bunch of money, and I'll get into that kind of with the question they have about Blake Snell coming up in the future here. So Ji-Man Choi might be one of these guys where it's a really good defensive first baseman that has gotten hot with the bat over the last couple of years. is that someone that they can keep relatively low in the pay scale, or is it a good asset to turn into something else that they might need? Because will the Rays be aggressive in free agency? I think is on people's minds this year with them, kind of being just a couple wins away from winning the World Series, right? But the Rays, they're definitely not the team that goes out and spends $150 million on a surefire all-star. They are the team that takes undervalued assets and they turn them into even more down the road. And that's why the Rays have built one of the best farm systems. So looking at the free agency as a whole, being that the Rays don't go out and spend a bunch of money, they also don't have a lot. There's not a lot out there in terms of a blockbuster free agency class of guys that the Rays are going to go out and get. So the way that I think the Rays change their team is through trades. I think that it's packaging guys like Hunter Renfroe or Ryan Yarbrough or some of these young pitchers, right? That they have in the bullpen, that some of these teams that are looking to get rid of some of their bad contracts or guys that didn't really pan out at the top level, guys that are on the Yankees or Red Sox or Cubs or things like that they might have had high hopes for, but they don't really think they're the all-star caliber. Well, if they can turn one of those guys to the Rays for a couple good prospects and good arms, especially out of the bullpen, they might be willing to make a few trades here and there. And so with that deep farm system, you also have to look at a player like Blake Snell, which is a legitimate Cy Young winning ace, that a lot of these contenders, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, all of these teams have to be looking at a guy like Blake Snell that they can bring in. And the Rays, I think, have more of a question than you would necessarily think outright. Like, why would we trade Blake Snell? That sounds kind of stupid. He's like the one guy that's at the top of our pitching rotation. However, he's getting more expensive every year, and this is right in that sweet spot where the Rays like to turn what they have into more assets. Blake Snell in 2021 is going to make $10.5 million by himself. And this is a team that only spent, $80 million total, okay? So he's $10.5 million alone, and then that goes to $12.5 next year, in the year after, and $16 million 3 years from now, or 2 years past this season, so 3 years from now. So, geez, time is a crazy thing. So in 2023, $16 million. The Rays are not going to pay Blake Snell $16 million in 2023, and if they do, it's because the Rays have made so much money, or maybe Blake Snell's the only good player on the team because they've gotten rid of everyone else. That's the only way that Blake Snell is making $16 million in 2023. Unless he restructures his contract, gets an extension that brings down that number, something. But right now, Blake Snell's a hot commodity that they could turn into more prospects. And especially if they're going to keep guys like G-Man Choi, if they're going to keep guys like Tyler Glasnow, if they're going to maybe have an early kind of extension with Randy Arozarena, like these guys that are popping out right now that are probably better than their stats are better than the money they're making. So a guy like Randy Arozarena is going to get more money in arbitration, especially if he has a solid year next year, versus his kind of rookie contract that he's under. So I know it sounds weird to think about trading Blake Snell, but it's a question, at least, that I think they're going to have to answer. Maybe not this year. Maybe they give him $10 million. But knowing that maybe in the future you're probably not going to keep him, that looks into, well, what else? What can the Rays really change about their team? Now, I've said a lot here, and so, Musaab, do you have any comments or questions on what I've gone through so far? I've been talking a lot here.
No questions or comments. I think just on kind of what I've been listening from you and, just reading on reports, I don't think there will be that much change to the whole roster. It's just, I would need to look more into it, but I'm just hoping, the Rays can, get one or two more, picks or maybe some trades or some, signings, free agents. That can just help us overall. It's really hard to, we came so far, into this World Series. So it's not like, hey, we're a completely horrible team and, we got to make a lot of changes. I don't think many changes are needed, but I also don't know exactly which changes are needed. But I will say that I think Randy Arozarena is definitely going to get some more importance and his role will change more after a stellar first-year performance with the Rays. So that's like what I'm kind of like really like looking at as of right now, and I'm also just at the end of the day, I think what it really is really coming down to is our pitcher, the pitcher scene. I think what you said about Blake Snell, I can agree with that. I can't say exactly how sure I am of it to happen. But it's if that's the change that needs to be made, then I don't mind it. I just think looking at the World Series, again, not really blaming anyone, but I just was not really satisfied with the pitching performance as I was expecting. Obviously I'm not expecting them to be pitching, like perfect games and all that, and but I was just really expecting that we would give the Dodgers less opportunities to just to score and all that. I think our like game one of the World Series was looking a little whack to me. To me right now, I feel like the pitcher that's really been on my mind, after Blake Snell last year, probably more than Blake Snell, is Tyler Glasnow. I just don't really get his groove or his vibe. I don't think he's horrible, but I just think that he just doesn't really play smart sometimes. I don't know if it's the communication between him and Zunino, or what his intentions are when he's pitching. But so I know he pitched in game 1 and then game 5, right?
I'd have to look back, but yeah, that sounds.
Whether it be, I think it was, because we won game 4. Okay, yeah,
we won game 4.
Yeah,
we absolutely won game 4.
I remember it wasn't that game. I remember who was pitching that game. I remember everything of that game. So, yeah, game 1 and game 5, I just did not really like and was not liking Glasnow's performance. I don't know what the reason for that is, but I hope maybe the pitching lineup changes, or I hope maybe he identifies his weaknesses. But that's all I really have to add.
Okay, yeah, and look, it stings too, because they lost the World Series, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you look at the World Series and it's I know the first reaction is, I mean, look at how people are talking about Kevin Cash. All right, here's Kevin Cash, gets to the World Series. He's a genius. He's great. He's amazing. He makes a dumb play and he takes out Blake Snell, and he should be fired. get rid of him. Kevin Cash is an idiot. And it's like, guys, look at who brought us to the dance. And all in all, because I know from the fan perspective is like, we want championships every year. And the reality is that it's very unlikely that any team every year wins the championship. So, the Rays do have some limitations about like, okay, if we were going to fire Kevin Cash or, okay, Glasnow blew it, let's get rid of him and it's like the Rays aren't the team that's going to get Mookie Betts for $200 million. The Rays aren't going out and getting Clayton Kershaw, right? They're not going to go out and I mean, hell, they had David Price, and that's one of those things where you had a guy who was a Cy level ability, and they let him go because it just gets too expensive at a point. So I think that when you're looking at the whole team overall, guys like Tyler Glasnow are going to have some deficiencies. All the guys, even Blake Snell or Charlie Morton or whatever, all these guys, when they're overachieving, that's what the Rays are. The Rays are looking for guys that's a lottery ticket. Every person is a lottery ticket, and we're hoping that more often than not they're good. But there are going to be stretches that these guys are going to show why they're not all stars on consistently. Because if they were, the Rays wouldn't be able to have them because they're going to be too expensive. Consistency is the big thing. Why, if you make $100 million or you make $5 million, if you have a high ceiling, which the Rays look for high ceiling guys that are really good at defensively, and they have the ceiling to be power hitters or contact hitters or get on base. So we could go up and down the roster, and that's pretty much what we would say. For instance, we were asking like, okay, well, what do the Rays, kind of need coming out of the postseason? I think that you kind of hit it on the head with you have questions about Tyler Glasnow, because starting pitching definitely is a question mark for the Rays. If they keep Blake Snell, obviously he's the most consistent and most legitimate pitcher they have on the team. Tyler Glasnow is probably the second most consistent guy on the roster. After that, it's questionable. Are you gonna take Ryan Yarbrough and keep him on the team as a part of the rotation? Are you gonna be able to bring back Charlie Morton on a less expensive deal? After that, now the question mark is: are you handing the ball to some of these young guys you hope, like Shane McClanahan? Are you going to hope that they grow into the role that you want? That's going to be a big question on whether or not in a full season that's not 60 games, can the starting rotation be reliable? Because the whole reason we had to come up with the closer or the opener idea, right? Was because we didn't have 5 starters. You didn't have 5 legitimate guys that are going to go out there every 5 days. But there's a bunch of other questions, because the second big one, other than starting pitching depth, is the Rays desperately need another big bat in the lineup. I know that we just throughout the whole postseason were like, this pitching is pretty good. The bullpen is a strength. However, they're leaving guys on base, or they're not even getting on base. And so, without question, that was the biggest deficiency, was the offense. So now it's like, well, if we're projecting who the starters are going to be, G-Man Choi, I think they're going to keep him. He's a defensive genius, and they're hoping that he has a bounce back year. But one of the other questions I have is shortstop Willy Adames. Okay. Willy Adames, by all measures, should be an up-and-coming shortstop that has a long-term potential for the Rays. But he's also right now at the highest stock that he's going. If he doesn't, because I had a lot of questions, not defensively. Willy Adames defensively, amazing. Okay, can't say enough about that. It's just that he had such a disappointing postseason that it's like when you're thinking in that mentality of that I think the Rays are in, where they're like, it's like the stock market: sell high, buy low, right? Well, they got Willy Adames here. He is if he continues to struggle at the plate, is his stock going to plummet? And then we won't be able to get anything out of him. And if we keep him, he's just going to be a disappointing bat at the 7th or 8th or 9th part of the lineup. Well, right now, can they turn him into a better prospect? Can they turn him into something? And so, again, that's a question I do not have the answer for, but I think it's something that don't be surprised if they do try to move Willy Adames to get a something a little more offensively minded at shortstop. Now, one position I absolutely think they're going to try to upgrade is catcher. I don't think, even if they bring back Mike Zunino they let him go on a team option. I don't, unless they really can't go out and find someone that's going to come back. They do have a prospect in the pipeline, but that is Ronaldo Hernandez. Hernandez is still a year or two away from even sniffing the major leagues. He might come back as you might see him in spring training as just a guy they're going to have to give him a taste of what it feels like. But catcher is a position that, without a doubt, they have to. Even if they brought back Mike Zunino, I wouldn't see that as a good, strong position for the Rays. Mike Zunino was okay defensively, but other than hitting home runs, and he did come up really big. He came up really, really big. But that was like a surprising aspect. Like we don't expect Mike Zunino to be mashing taters out of the 8th spot in the lineup. That's kind of one of those places we're kind of hiding our defensive guys, like Willy Adames, right? So, thinking about trades, I think there is a catcher out there for the Cubs named Wilson Contreras that is equally as good on defense, but without a doubt is better offensively. I mean, you're looking at a guy who, Zunino had a 147 batting average. He only got on base 24% of the time, and he really only had, kind of home runs as the one major thing we would get out of him. Well, Wilson Contreras almost doubles his batting average at 243. He gets on base 40% of the time, and he even hits more home runs. So it's like all of these things are upgrades if you're able to get a guy, Wilson Contreras specifically. And the Cubs, I think, are in a position where they would want some of our pitching, where we have so much of it. We have so much bullpen depth. We have farm system guys that we can, if not the major league roster bullpen guys, we have prospects in the pipeline that we can use as an asset to get a guy who is a everyday starting catcher that will be almost double the offensive production. But even if they don't go that route, because I mean that would mean giving up a lot to get a guy like Wilson Contreras. The other thing that they could do in free agency is go get a guy to be a designated hitter, a guy that they know has no defensive quality, but will still be able to be a consistent, reliable hitter. And to me, one of the names that was kind of thrown out there is Nelson Cruz. And Nelson Cruz, he's up there in age. He's 40 years old, but that's kind of where you want to stick a designated hitter, designated hitter, I think, is the perfect opportunity to get a guy you're not going to put out there in the outfield. You don't need him to really do much other than come to bat 3 to 4 times a game. And here's a guy who, even in 2020, was getting on base almost 40% of the time. He hit 16 home runs in the limited season, and he's a guy that's consistently done that. He's consistently gets on base, more than 34% of the time, and he's a way above average hitter, and that's a guy that I think you can look at and think that if he's able to have 200 to 300 at bats next season, he's a guy that you can rely on for about 25 home runs, probably, hopefully 60 or more RBIs. And he's a guy that you could conceivably think is going to get on base probably 30 to 35% of the time. But really, you're looking for a guy that you're kind of putting guys on base before he comes up, and he comes in as the fifth hitter or sixth hitter or something like that, where one of the guys in that 3, 4, 5 has gotten on base, and now Nelson Cruz can bring in the 2-run home run or the double or something like that. But Nelson Cruz is a guy that was in contention for MVP candidate. He's a multi-time All-Star, and he's definitely a Silver Slugger Award winner throughout his career. And it's a guy that in this offseason, I think you're going to see some guys get devalued a lot. And I think that Nelson Cruz is one of these guys that the Rays might have to break the wallet out a little bit, but not overwhelmingly so, because a lot of these teams aren't going to make a lot of big moving and shaking maneuvers. With the inconsistency of the economy and economy of baseball and just the uncertainty of where we're going to be next year, I don't see a team breaking out, millions and millions and millions of dollars to overpay a guy like Nelson Cruz. And that's exactly where the Rays, I think, can come in and see some undervalued assets in free agency. And maybe they're the one who kind of slightly overpays than what they would normally want to do to bring in a guy that can be a reliable hitter in the lineup. So that's bringing in a big bat is my number one priority, and finding pitching depth is my number 2 priority. If they're not able to bring back say Charlie Morton, right? Then now you kind of have to go out on the free agency market, or you have to rely on a guy that is unproven, like Shane McClanahan or something like that. They have high hopes for, but all in all, to kind of wrap up what I've been saying is that the Rays are in a position that if they want to change some of their lineup, they can. I don't think they necessarily are going to make earth-shattering changes to the lineup, but other than catcher and pitching depth, if they want to just run it back with what they've got, it wouldn't be the most exciting thing in the world, but it would be at least consistent with the way the Rays build a team. What do you think, Musaab?
Yeah, no, totally. I 100% agree with you on that.
Okay.
I just think overall it's just going to be a few tweaks that are really needed.
Sure.
But that's really about it.
All right. Well, I think before we go, there is one other team that we haven't talked about, and that is our Tampa Bay Rowdies. I know we were both excited, I think, to kind of like go all in on ESPN, and I think we were going to go all in for just that unconditional Tampa Bay love that we were going to show the Rowdies. But unfortunately, the Rowdies USL Championship game was canceled for COVID precautions. There were members of the organization that unfortunately had to be quarantined, and so it wasn't really feasible or safe to have a game between the Rowdies and for the USL Championship. So unfortunately, I guess they are not crowning a USL champion. However, your Eastern Conference champion are the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Musaab, I know you did some research about this. What do you got to say about our guys in the yellow and green?
The decision was made for the health and safety of everyone because it was involving multiple persons on the Tampa Bay Rowdies who were testing positive for COVID-19. It's just, the USL headquarters in collaboration with the Rowdies and Phoenix Rising, they made the determination that, the season will conclude after Tampa and Phoenix will each, won their playoffs, conference playoffs. So, they're going to give one team the Eastern Conference title, the other the Western Conference title. I think it was an amazing season for both. They both deserve the opportunity to play for the USL Championship final trophy, and it's disappointing that, we're not able to watch them Eureka on, last Sunday night. But that being said, just a shout out to the Rowdies for really making it this far. They didn't let us down. None of our teams have been really letting us down so far. We have our Lightning as champs, our Rays in the finals of MLB, our Rowdies in the finals of the USL. So all that's left is our Buccaneers. I hope hoping they can make it to the Super Bowl and win it.
Absolutely.
But just until now, we're gonna have to wait till next season, for the USL, season, and again it'll be a while till the playoffs start and all that. But that's really about it though. There's only so much I can say right now with the Rowdies. I was honestly really looking forward to actually watching the Rowdies on normal TV, like on ESPN.
Yeah.
But just when I thought I was gonna watch them on ESPN, maybe who knows? Maybe ESPN was behind this all, and they were like, you know what? we do not want Yurika and Musaab to watch the Rowdies game on on cable.
Guys.
Or on live television. We want them to pay for the ESPN Plus subscription. And because, they didn't, we're not going to show it to them.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, ESPN.
Come on.
Your conspiracy cannot overtake Musaab and myself. We're going to love our Rowdies no matter what. Because, this was one of those, perfect. It was a perfect opportunity for, one, the Tampa Bay Rowdies to kind of extend their brand out, right? I don't think anyone is, especially here in Tampa Bay, there's a lot that needs to go into kind of the love and support of the team. Take myself, for instance. I know about the Rowdies. I've been to a couple Rowdies games.
Right.
Or at least I'm aware of the Rowdies, I should say. I don't know but I'm aware of the Rowdies. And it was fun and good. I'm driving around in the daytime, and there were billboards promoting the Rowdies and Phoenix on ESPN. It was one of the highest level promotional consideration and highest level chances that the Rowdies had, especially in the pandemic era, to kind of say, hey, you got nothing else going on. Come watch the Rowdies. The Bucs were playing the day after, right? So it was there was no, in the Tampa Bay area, there wasn't really any other sports thing going on Sunday night. It's here we go. Let's learn about our team. Let's learn about our local soccer team. And unfortunately, like all things in 2020, we can't get what we want, or at least we can't get everything we want. However, I'm hoping that the Rowdies locally take this as an opportunity to raise their profile however they can. And I know that I have it on my priority list to kind of pay more attention to our local professional soccer league team. And so hopefully next year goes more smoothly, and that we get some games, and that we can open up the stadium and have some fun, because it is a fun experience to go in there. Have you been able to go to Al Lang Stadium?
Oh,
In
once,
St. Pete?
just once.
Okay, yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
and so
was
it's
just
like-
really, I mean, I always wanted to go to a soccer game here. I've been to a Lightning game, a Rays
Yeah.
game, a Bucs game, and a Rowdies game, and it's just, the environment's different for all of them, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure though, watching live soccer. I feel like the soccer crowd is usually very, very pumped.
Oh man,
And
they got the guys.
and my favorite part is nothing against any other sport, but soccer is just played in two halves, so there's no commercial breaks, none of that timeout stuff. It's just
Yeah.
straight up. 45 minutes break, 45 minutes. So I like that a lot because it saves my time and saves everyone else's time.
Yeah. Well, and I think too that like hockey, soccer is really it's more exciting live.
Yeah,
Like when you're there, it feels like there's action and excitement and there's tension, and as much as soccer isn't a sport where there's like 5-4 or 10-7, there's not. It's like a lot of times it's 0-0, 1-0, 2-1, things like that. It is that it's like baseball where it's that tension of the 3-2 count.
right.
Is it a walk? Is it a hit? Right. Soccer has so much of that at all times, and it's a never stopping clock. Like you were saying, so live, it's fun and exciting, and on TV sometimes there's a little bit lost in translation on a television screen. So I am hoping that as restrictions are lifted and as we are more safe to go out and enjoy things, that the Rowdies are able to kind of elevate their presence and show everyone that, like, hey, we have a good stadium. We have a fun environment down in St. Pete. They have their own bar. The Rowdies have a Rowdies bar not too far from the stadium. It really is a hell of a time and a kick in the grass, as they like to say. So it's one of the things I'm looking forward to in the future. And what time better than now when you have a team that's really good and competing, and they are the Eastern Conference champions.
Yep.
I don't know if they get to hang a half a star on their logo from now on, or if they get to, but we're hanging an Eastern Conference championship banner at least. And I hope that they even play an exhibition game. Like, why not? Like, why not have an exhibition game between Phoenix and Tampa? It won't go down in the record books, but we'll all know Phoenix. Because think about the Phoenix fans too, right? Like, here's a whole other team that they don't get to go through this experience, and I know their fans probably wouldn't have made the trip and the travel to Tampa Bay, but they would have been watching on ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
They would have been watching, and that whole. There's that minor league, or I mean, even if you don't want to say that, but that second division soccer. These fans that are fans of the Rowdies, they are diehard. For as much as there's you or I that are just been casually watching or hoping and kind of keeping up with it, there are diehard Phoenix fans. There are diehard Rowdies fans, and that's who I really feel the worst about. Is like these guys who do take the time, they do pour their heart and energy into following these guys. They had their moment, and it was taken away from them. So I hope that maybe they can have an exhibition game for those guys, not for me, not for you, that are like just getting into it or whatever, but for those guys who are diehard for it, just to be at least like maybe they could even kind of make a little fun, lighthearted little cup out of it or something. I mean, I don't know. Just trying to see a silver lining to all of this.
I think they should. I got some Bucs gear, some Rays gear, some Lightning gear, but
yeah, or maybe the mayors can make a bet.
I need some. Yeah, I would like that too. But I need some Rowdies gear. So for that reason, just because of this pandemic, and because they couldn't make any money from the USL final, I say the Tampa Bay Rowdies, they should just kind of do like a little 50% off all Tampa Bay Rowdy Eastern Conference champion shirts or something, just so they can promote it. Or I don't know. I mean, I want a shirt. I want a shirt real bad. My paycheck's coming in next week, and that's what I had planned. That's what I had planned, Eureka. I said, hey man, if the Rowdies win, I'm gonna cut me a nice little maybe jersey or a tee or something. But I think they're still winners in my heart. I will say this: the ways the Rowdies were, kind of advancing round by round, was a lot better than the Phoenix Rising was. So I did have high hopes for them.
Yeah, it did look like
And
as much as
I'm gonna
the Rowdies
I'm gonna
didn't
try to
make
look at it right now and see if they ever played an exhibition over the season. I don't.
Against Phoenix.
Yeah, I
I'm not
don't.
sure.
Let me see. Let's.
Because I know they were favored to win, and that's because they were underdogs.
Yeah.
Going into the Eastern Conference Championship against Louisville City.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about that story too. You had a dynasty basically in the Louisville City.
Yeah.
And the Rowdies dethroned them, man. They're the Kingslayers. They took out the champs. And I'm looking on their website. So Tampa Bay Rowdies, if you go to rowdiesoccer.com, they do have a link to their Rowdies gear. And they have their own official store where they sell in hats and Eastern Conference champion shirts.
Ooh.
And they're even selling right now a 2020 Tampa Bay Rowdies final shirt. And, man, I might have to pick one of these up. USL Championship final Tampa Bay Rowdies.
I didn't know the Rowdies actually play like other teams as well, like outside. Like they'll do the exhibition stuff. They played Orlando City.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, that was actually. Oh, yikes! That was a long time ago, though. Oh my God.
Well, they do. So from time to time, USL teams will play MLS teams, or there's a thing called the US Open Cup.
Right.
And any professional or any team, it doesn't have to be professional, you can sign up for I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of qualifier or whatever you have to do, but like you and I could start a soccer team and technically try to qualify for the US Open. And a lot of USL teams or NASL teams or MLS teams are in this the US Open. So it's kind of part of the culture that we don't get in America that is more prevalent in like England and things like that, where you have a multi-tiered system and all of those teams do have like a shot to move up the ladder. That you can be a second division team and do really well and move up to the first division. And I know Tampa Bay has flirted with MLS in the past, and that's still a question of whether or not that's going to ever be a reality for the Rowdies to be an MLS team.
Right.
But if the Rowdies are able to get a few more shots at exhibition games or U.S. Open games and things like that, they're definitely one of the more higher profile second division team, or non-MLS team, I guess is the best way I want to say it. Because I don't want to act like the Rowdies are inferior minor league or something like that. So,
right.
All in all, the Rowdies being one of the more marketable teams that have a dedicated fan base.
Yeah.
And they're a storied franchise. That name to people who follow American soccer, the Rowdies are just as up there with, maybe the New York Cosmos or something else, where it was like in the 70s when soccer had its big boom. The Rowdies were part of that big boom in America, and the Rowdies ownership has been all in all, from what I can tell, they've been investing in the team. They've been investing in the expansion of the stadium, and they've been trying to put forth a legitimate effort to get that bump and get into MLS. Even before there was an Orlando City team, the Rowdies were kind of pushing. So who knows on that front? And I think it's just been fun to kind of tag along and be it's kind of weird to say a bandwagon fan when you live in the area, but yeah, it's been fun to kind of tag along and be a bandwagon fan for our local guys that are going for the championship. So
yeah,
I'm hoping that all that goes. But if you do want to do your part on the Rowdies, they are selling tons of merch on
I'm looking at it.
their website.
I'm looking at it right now, and all for those who are listening and are interested, they got a 2020 Nike white warm-up replica jersey of the Rowdies. Basically, what they wear, for their warm-ups. That's $80. Then we have a 2020 Tampa Bay Rowdies Eastern Conference Champion T-shirt, which is $30 for adults, $25 for youth. We also have a Tampa Bay Rowdies 2020 Finals T-shirt. Okay,
it looks good, man. It's kind of cool.
I like that one.
I gotta grab one of those.
Yeah.
Man. And they are running a.
Honestly, I mean, I don't like white jerseys, and I'm also not sure how I feel about their Volt replica jersey. That lime green.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough, but oh man. It's been a good year so far, and it's kind of just that little feel good vibe. I do see it a lot more in the St. Pete area sometimes when I visit, that people do rep their Rowdies gear. So
yeah,
I'd love to be part of that. Something I can just relate to with others. Maybe get a little RBLR patch on the jersey.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah,
or
buddy.
maybe I'll put that in my last name. I'll put that on the,
It's coming.
RBLR, yeah.
Well, if you we're just literally shilling for the Rowdies right now, but on there they have a fan appreciation 20% off code. If you use the code USL merch, right?
Yeah.
You will get 20% off. So we're literally shilling for the Tampa Bay Rowdies right here, but whatever we can do to help out.
I think I'm slowly becoming their number one fan, Yurika.
There we go. Well,
soon,
I've been
feel like soon the Rowdies are gonna take over this whole podcast.
Yeah.
Soon,
who are the Buccaneers? We don't know. Tom Brady?
Soon you're gonna be hearing news where it goes, Leonard Fournette decides to play soccer.
Yeah.
Alex Killorn and Anthony Sorelli decide that for health reasons that they will be leaving hockey and pursuing soccer. And
the soccer goon, that's what we need.
My favorite one is, I think my favorite one would probably be G-Man Choi. G-Man Choi.
He's doing splits.
G-Man Choi, the new goalie for the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
I love it. Well, we can't go without shilling our own stuff here, man. If you like what we're doing, we're at RBLR Sports on all forms of social media. If you would rather get in touch personally, leave us a voicemail at 813-778-5280. Please keep it under a minute. And remember what you can do right now, other than using the code USL merch to get 20% off on the Rowdies store. What you can do is remember to like and subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. We're on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Podcasts. We're even on YouTube, where I'm opening up some sports cards. We're doing some crazy stuff, and all of that is for fun, and all of that is for your entertainment and your enjoyment. So, Musaab, anything for us before we get out of here, man?
Could you just repeat that code, just so I think everyone.
Yeah. Here we go. I hope we get it. We got to get commission. You and I.
Yeah.
So if you go to the Tampa Bay.
Oh, I see it up here. Okay, it's USL
Rowdies.
Rowdies. Yeah, you go on rowdies.com and. I think once you press on like Rowdies gear, it'll pop up, and as soon as it pops up right above the Tampa Bay Rowdies logo, you'll see fan appreciation event, 20% off USL merch. Wow, that's really nice of them. So that means that means I'm probably gonna be paying. Well, they're probably chopping off like 20%, but I got a bad feeling they're gonna be charging like more for shipping or something.
Well, if you're local, you can contact them, and they have a store down at the stadium.
Oh, Okay.
So see what you can do locally. Go down. Plus, it helps them out if you're buying it. From them down there in St. Pete. Plus, downtown St. Pete is killer.
For
and
sure.
fun and
Yeah.
underrated.
I will be going there soon. So it's like there's stores right next to the stadium.
Yeah. It's right there at on First Street, 230 First Street in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, I think it's the Rowdies.
Now they are closed, but they have a phone number. You can give them a shout. They're obviously with COVID, you got to know what their hours and stuff. But if you give them a shout, you can call them. But with all that said, Musaab, let's end it there. We will see you next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for being with me, Musaab. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this. We are RBLR Sports, and we're looking forward to a demolishing of the New Orleans Saints. We're looking for our Rays to make some waves, and we're looking for you to use that code against the Rowdies, buddy. We'll take it easy. We're going to get out of here. Thank you again, and at RBLR Sports everywhere. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.